What's up, Grayson Report? Happy Thursday. I dubbed today True Crime Thursday. I think I'm going to try to sneak in true crime every once in a while on Thursdays. Sounds good to me. But how's everyone doing? What is up, Carol, Matthew, Heather, whatever, Tammy, Joanne, Lisa Boo, Curious Potato, Bernadette? How is everything going? How is your week so far? We'll wait a few more minutes for people to trickle in. And if you're wondering, this is not Skeleduck. This is Skeleduck. If you were on my stream on Twitch last night, this is Skeleduck's brother who goes to the gym. But Skeleduck is somewhere in my background. Just remind me by the end of the stream, and I will reveal his location. If you're unsure of who Skeleduck is, he looks similar to his brother, just not as bulk. Just not as much. He doesn't have the gains like his brother has here. He looks like he is pictured in the upper left-hand corner, might be your upper right-hand corner. That is what he looks like. I hide him. It doesn't matter what background I'm in, what studio I am in. If I remember, he will be hidden in the background. So just remind me, and I reveal his location at the end of the stream. Daniel, what is up? Nerd Report in the house. Joanne goes cold, had a big frost last night. We were actually the last 2 days, we had no sun. It was actually gloomy. I am enjoying it. I love this weather. I hope it doesn't go away. Daniel goes Robo-Duck. Yeah, kind of. Nerd Report is at the ER with his mom, so I am holding the fort down over here. That if you're wondering why I'm in a different studio. So if you guys can pray, positive vibes, prayers, whatever you do, if you can send your love to Mama Lekka in the chat, can we, please? Logical Spark, how's it going? Gunner Girl, what is up? Matthew goes, it was 58 last night here in Florida where I am. I think we were about the same. Nerd Report goes, supporting Lisa, supporting me. Thanks for watching her. So how's everyone's week been while we wait for people to trickle in? Heather, whatever goes 20 degrees? Whoa. Thank you, Daniel. Daniel's playing Led Zeppelin. All of my love for the Lekkas. Bernadette goes, it's supposed to snow here this weekend somewhere, probably the mountains. That's crazy. I heard there's supposed to be snow in where was it? In some areas in North Carolina as well. Logical Spark. I don't know why I want to say Spock, but Spark. That's cold. It's down to 30 degrees here the other night. I think here we were about the same as Matthew. I think we were about 58, somewhere around there last night. I think we're going to be about the same tonight. Here in Los Angeles, I think it's going to be cooler, a bit cooler here than back where my house is. I'm more inland. But sometimes you'd be surprised. Sometimes it's colder by my house and warmer here. Joanne is prepping for the snow already by putting snow tires on her car next week. Carol goes, we had some flurries last night. Nothing stayed around. I actually changed my windshield wipers. I hadn't changed them. I know you're supposed to change them every year, but I got some super expensive ones, and they actually did last 2 years. So I went ahead and changed those just in case it decided to sprinkle. Also, guys, I am on Twitch simultaneously here as on YouTube. So if you guys prefer Twitch, you can check me out there. Bernadette is over there lurking. And Bernadette also dropped the link in the chat as well. I'm with you, Curious Potato. I prefer the cold because at least with the cold, you can put blankets, you can have hot coffee, tea, heater. If you don't have a heater, heating blanket and you know, blankets and layers. When it's hot, there's like no relief except for like if you have an air conditioning. But I mean, even sometimes that if you don't have a good air conditioning, it doesn't cool the house down. What's up, Daniel? Daniel's over there on Twitch as well. Gunner Girl goes, we are getting lows in the 40s and highs in the 80s with wind. Snow about 45 minutes away. It's starting to happen. Oh, wow. Gunner Girl, I'm sure you're glad it's not hot anymore there in Arizona. Matthew, I agree. Easier to heat than to cool in the heat. This one's crazy. While we wait for people to trickle in, it's not really spooky, but I saw that it was in the news and it's all over the news, besides the Menendez brothers. But did you guys hear about Liam Payne, the One Direction bandmate or boy band mate? And what happened with him? That was crazy. Carol's also over there lurking in Twitch as well. Wendy, what is up? It is crazy. They did an autopsy on him. They're still, but there's reports where he may have been unconscious when the fall happened. There's reports that he might have been drinking. I don't know exactly. The only thing that has come out is the autopsy report, which gave the obvious of how his passing was. He was very young. Rest in peace. That is way too young. In fact, I saw another thing where his ex-girlfriend was saying he was always talking about that he was going to die soon. So it's kind of crazy. So I'm curious. Hopefully, I mean, there's a lot of people speculating alcohol and drugs, but we don't know yet. That was my first thought as well, because I mean, how do you just fall from a 3-story balcony? So it's kind of weird. They did slash out what do you call it, like they didn't say it was an accident. They didn't say it was this because it's still new, so there's not a lot of information out yet. But I did read an article. I think they did say that there was no like malintent or something like that. I can't think of the words right now, but something like that. Yeah, Lisa Boo, I saw that too. His room was disheveled too. I also saw there's I saw Sharon Osbourne. She posted on Instagram a little kind of thing for him as well. Logical Spark is on Twitch, lurking over there as well. Thank you. Bernadette goes, I saw the hotel pics, and yep, there was some curious stuff in there. So we'll find out, but may he rest in peace. It's kind of, like I said, he was only 31. Like, wow. At 31, you still have a lot. I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are. I feel like you still have a lot to live. Even in your 50s, you still have a lot of time to live. But that's just, it's sad to see things like that happen. Especially like that. So may he rest in peace. Chris, what is up? TMZ, Wendy, you got to be careful with TMZ, because TMZ is kind of a tabloid site. So I kind of take TMZ with a grain of salt, unless the actual actor, or whoever, like, say, like, there's something I'm looking for and the actual actor puts it out, or I find another story that can corroborate it, because sometimes with TMZ you don't know, because it's a tabloid site. But It's a possibility, Winnie, but I had not seen that, so I can't really comment on that. So it's sad. So I wanted to say rest in peace to him. Super young guy. I wasn't a fan of One Direction or anything. Really wasn't. I think the last boy band I was a fan of was Backstreet Boys, and I still kind of am. But I wasn't really and then maybe New Kids when I was in like elementary school because all the girls were in love with them. But other than that, I wasn't really into boy bands, so I never really followed One Direction. I know of them, but I never followed them. Chris is asking who died. I'm not sure if you heard, but one of the bandmates, I guess is you could call it that because it is a boy band. Yesterday had fallen to his death. Liam Payne, I believe his name is. What was his name? I don't want to say his name wrong. Because the older I get, I always forget things now. Liam Payne. Curious Potato goes, I heard TMZ are getting criticized for insensitive handling of the situation. I wouldn't be surprised, Curious Potato, if that's true, because some of these, not just TMZ, but some of these tabloid sites, they do go crazy when it comes to showing doing articles because they want to catch that, that story, that sensational story. But sometimes there's a time when you should be there's a time between sensibility and being sensitive toward the situation. And I feel like sometimes those those tabloid news outlets are very insensitive. So I wouldn't be surprised. Chris Barber goes, so sad, so young, but I never heard of him. I never heard of him either. Like I said earlier, I know of the group, but I never really followed it. But it is sad. Lisa Boo goes, I still can't believe they showed his arm on the site. Oh, they shouldn't have. Matthew also says TMZ showed a picture that they eventually took off. Bernadette goes, sometimes I forget my kids' names, so I call them Thing 1 and 2. Lisa Boo also said they took it down. I'm pretty sure they had to take it down because they probably got a bunch of backlash for it. That is super insensitive. I didn't get to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see anything like that, but I know there's people that do. I personally don't. I feel like that's very insensitive to the situation, to the person that passed. That's very insensitive. That's also insensitive to his family and his friends. Nerd Report saying, don't forget to smash that like button if you haven't done so. Wendy also said, which I didn't know, he has a 7-year-old son as well. So he's leaving behind a 7-year-old son. And that is sad. I mean, I lost my mom at 24. I can just imagine losing your parent at 7. You can't even like, how do you process that at that age? That to me, that's heartbreaking. Bernadette, TMZ don't care, bunch of cockroaches. Well, they want to get the scoop. They want to get the scoop. They want to get that story. They want to be the first one on it. And it's sad. I get their reasonings for it. That's that's how news works, I guess you could say. But in the sense of it, it's like you're kind of being insensitive in a way. And there's ways of doing it without being sensational. Like, you could tell the story without actually showing the pictures. You know what I mean? They didn't have to do that. All right, guys, to get into the nitty gritty, I do have some spooky that I'm going to share with you, but I'm going to go in with the Menendez brothers first. The last I had shared with you guys was that Gascon, which is the LA district attorney here that's known to be really soft was going to revisit the case at that time. And I still believe at this time, it's very well that they may be set free. There was a press conference yesterday. I'm pretty sure a lot of you saw it, where a lot of the family members came on. I believe Kitty Mendez's sister spoke. The niece of Jose Menendez also spoke. Some family members spoke. And my take on that, because it said something like it was very hard for Kitty Menendez's sister to accept what happened, and now she is kind of, and she's forgiving them. And I get it, because after some time, sometimes you just sit there and you forgive. You forgive. And like I said, I don't know, because we're only hearing one side of the story, so I'm kind of still 50-50 when it comes to them. I get people when they said, yeah, they served 35 years. One's, I think Eric is like 51 now, if I'm not mistaken, or 52. He is. And then Lyle is 53. I think Eric is was born in 1970. That makes him okay. Who was born in 1970 and who wasn't? Because they put them both in the same thing. I'm sorry, guys. That is annoying. But does the punishment fit the crime? See, that's a good question, Wendy. I feel like regardless of what you may be going through, I feel like that doesn't justify killing someone. And I've seen stories where people have been in that situation and they get out of it, but they don't go to what lengths that Eric and Lyle went through. So I feel like even if it is true, I feel like it shouldn't have gone that far. Like, in my opinion, I know some people have different opinions, but that's how I feel. I feel like it shouldn't have gone that far. No one deserves that, no matter what. Nobody deserves it. I get it. You when you're in that situation, you feel like there's no way out as well too. I've never been in a situation like that, so I can't personally talk about that. But I get it. I get that maybe when you're in that situation, you feel like there's no way out. Like, that's the only way out. Like, you're never gonna get out of this situation unless you do that. You can't tell anybody because maybe someone told you not to tell anybody because this is gonna happen, type of thing. But eventually, I feel like you're gonna break and tell someone and confide in them. So I feel like they didn't really tell anybody. There is a letter that came out where I believe Eric wrote a letter to the cousin, which I believe they're going to use. The DA is going to use, but if I'm not mistaken. Lisa Boo goes, that was heartbreaking to hear the sister. I feel like with them, I was thinking about it, because after some time, you kind of, when you get older, you kind of just forgive. You know what I mean? There's things that when you were younger, you would hold grudges on, like, oh, they did this, but then as you get older, you're like, you know what? You start to forgive, and you you want to release all that negativity from you. So I get how some of these family members are now like coming forward and go, look, this is how I felt when it 35 years ago, but this is how I feel now, and I get it. I get it. I totally understand. Like I said, the older we get, we soon realize we don't hold those grudges when we were younger. We kind of we move on. We kind of let go of those things, and we kind of forgive people more so than we would when we were younger. So I feel like those people, the family members feel like, yeah, they served their time and it's time for them to come out, which is nothing wrong with them. They have nothing wrong with that. They have the right to want that. They have the right to want their family member free. Bernadette goes, so Eric's wife Tammy started a TikTok for him, with him sending a message to his supporters. I saw that. I did. I don't know if I saw the TikTok, but I saw the Instagram. Heather Whatever, see, that's where I come to. Was it greed? It's exactly what Heather Whatever says. And I'm going to share an article because I found an article where one of their uncles believed they should stay in prison. And he believes it's due to greed because when they found out that their father was going to take them off the will is when they decided, and this is per the uncle, is when they plotted what eventually happened to their parents. Heather Whatever goes, they didn't live at home when it happened, then went to town with the money after, which they did. They spent millions. So to me, that's sus. And I know I said this in the previous stream where I talk about it. If I just did that, there's no way. The last thing I would be thinking about is spending money and going on a spree. But that would be me. I wouldn't even be in that situation because I would never do anything like that. I would never be able to live with myself if I did something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I would never forgive myself if I ever did anything like that. I'd be like, yes, take me to prison. I deserve it. You know what I mean? I would never, I would be so stuck in my head, just getting nightmares of that situation over and over again. I wouldn't even be thinking about going on a spending spree and buying a bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? But that's me. I don't know what goes on through some of these, when people do commit these crimes or what's going on in their head when they're actually, committing a crime. It's crazy. Curious Potato. Okay, what did they do? They didn't go on a spending spree. That's not true. Bernadette goes, I do forgive, but I never forget. I just move forward in life. Oh, I got Wendy. That reminds me. I got the dreaded jury duty ticket. And I'm like, nah. Wendy's the same way. I don't ever forget. I mean, it depends on what you do to me. A lot of times though, I don't give people chances though. That's me. If you say you're gonna be there at a certain time and you don't show up, that's it. I'm not gonna. That irritates me. I know, Joanne, so I'm kind of stuck with it, but that's okay. I know I'm gonna. Hopefully, I don't have to talk to them or deal with them. Matthew goes, dang, been there at least. I got 15 out of jury duty, gave it to charity. I mean, luckily I don't have to go in. I just call, but I'm hoping I don't have to go in because I'm like, I I don't think we can reschedule, Joanne, here. I know they'll let you reschedule, but I don't think you can get out of it. But that comes to this article I found. Where there's an uncle, and this is on People magazine. There's an uncle that thinks they should stay in prison, says killings were motivated by greed. And the uncle, I believe, is Kitty Menendez's brother, who is pictured here. Not every Menendez family member is supporting the brother's bid for release from prison. Kitty Menendez, 90-year-old brother Milton Anderson, thinks his nephews, Lyle, who's 56, there you go, Eric, who's 53, deserves to stay behind bars for the rest of their lives. His lawyer, Caddy, tells People he believes that the correct verdict was rendered by the jury and the correct sentence was issued by the judge. Caddy says he thinks they should remain in prison for what they did to their parents. Caddy adds that the evidence that came out at the trial was much more aligned with that the murder was committed because of greed. They had just found out their father was going to take them out of the will, and it was only after that they came up with the idea to murder their parents, she said. They didn't want to lose the millions of dollars that they hoped to get from their parents through an inheritance. Cody said the killing certainly caused a rift in the family, and so anything that has occurred is directly related to what Eric and Lyle Menendez did back in August of 1989. And I believe it was August 20th of 1989. On Wednesday, October 16th, more than 20 members of the Menendez family held a press conference in front of the Clara Shortridge Foltz Criminal Justice Center in downtown Los Angeles, which a lot of you saw yesterday. At the press conference, numerous family members, including Anderson's sister, Joanne Anderson Vandermolen, cited the sex abuse the brothers had claimed they endured at the hands of their father, Jose, and described them as victims, not murderers. For many years, I struggled to come to terms with what happened to my sister's family. Vandermolen said at the press conference, it was a nightmare none of us could have imagined, but as the details of Lyle and Eric's abuse came to light, it became clear that their action, while tragic, were the desperate response of two boys trying to survive the unspeakable cruelty of their father. They have already paid a heavy price. After 35 years, it's time to give them the opportunity to live the rest of their lives free from the shadow of their past. Caddy says Anderson doesn't believe the brothers were SA'd. No, YouTube, you are not getting me this time. They already got me on something. That's another story for another day. Mr. Anderson believes that it did not occur, she says. Since May of 2023, LA District Attorney George Gascon's office has been renewing a habeas corpus petition that attorneys for the brothers filed in LA County Superior Court citing new evidence in the case. The new evidence included SA allegations by Roy Rosello, a former member of the Puerto Rican boy band Menudo, against Jose, whom he claims are-hymned in the 80s, as well as newly discovered letters that Eric wrote, which I had mentioned earlier, to his now deceased cousin Andy Cano, describing his father's alleged SA months before the murders. Gascon previously addressed the petition at a press conference on Thursday, October 3rd, saying that his office was keeping an open mind about the Menendez brothers' bid for release. Acknowledging that the brothers were clearly the murderers, Gascon, who is up for re-election in November, I don't think he's going to get... I was wondering if he was up for re-election. He's probably not going to get voted back in. Said his office had a moral and an ethical obligation to review what is being presented to us and to determine if such evidence could have swayed jurors away from first-degree murder convictions. Here's what Lyle and Eric Menendez looks now. I believe they are residing in the Donovan Correctional Facility, which is in San Diego. Caddy said Anderson was caught off guard by Gascon's press conference. Anderson had been kept up to date with what was going on by the assigned prosecutor until Mr. Gascon came in and took it away, and then essentially held a press conference with no notice to Mr. Anderson. She says, and victims' family members should never have to find out what's going on in a case of their loved ones who was murdered by turning on the TV. It shows a complete lack of respect. NBC4 reported that Gascon said he was hoping to make a decision about the petition within the next 10 days or so. However, it will be up to the judge to decide if Lyle and Eric will remain in prison, be granted a new trial, or have their sentence reduced. A court hearing is scheduled for November 26th. I think what might happen, I don't think there's going to be a new trial. I think, and this is my opinion, I think that their sentence is possibly going to be reduced and they might get out for time served. That is what I'm anticipating. I don't know what they'll decide to do, but that is what I'm anticipating. And I think a lot of other people are anticipating the same thing as well. Lyle, excuse me, Lyle was 21 and Eric was only 18 when they fatally shot their parents using 12-gauge shotguns in the den of their Beverly Hills, California home on August 20th of 1989. Sorry, guys. Jose, who was 45, was hit multiple times, including point blank in the head. Kitty was 47, was shot multiple times, including once in the face. The killings, according to the brothers, came after years of essay by Jose. Abuse, which they claim was ignored by their mom, a former pageant queen. However, prosecutors at the time said the two brothers' motives was greed and cited their lavish spending spree after the slayings. In 1996, 3 years after their first trial ended in a deadlock, the siblings were convicted by the first-degree murders and subsequently sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. If you guys know someone that has been a victim of SA, please text strength to the crisis text line for future reference, which is 741-741, and you can be connected to a certified crisis counselor if you do need help. There is help out there. Wendy goes, I agree with the time served, but have they been rehabilitated? I believe Eric has, let me find that. I think he from my previous stream, I believe he went to school while he was in prison. Like he has a PhD or something. Or something like that. I don't want to give you guys the wrong information. Oh my gosh. When you need something, sometimes it's hard to find. Nerder Perkos Lisa's doing a great job. Thank you. I believe, I don't know, because rehabilitation, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I can't find it off right this second, but I know Eric, I believe he took advantage of the resources that he had while he is in prison, and I believe he got some schooling. I know Kim Kardashian is backing them up as well. See if I can find, because I think she had said something. Give me a second. Cannot find it off the top. I hate when you look for something and you can't find it. Heather, whatever goes, they spent 700,000. They bought 3 Rolex watches, bought restaurants, spent 60,000 on tennis trainer, paid for a rock concert, trips around the world before they confessed in 1989. Heather, whatever, saying they lived a horrible life. I won't say if they earned the money. Maybe they did, but they didn't live at home nor self-defense. That's just the law. I don't hate them. A lot of times, I'll just go into a lot of times with rehabilitation. When people get out, it's scary because you're coming from a situation where you're in a controlled environment. Put it that way. You get fed. You have shelter over your head. You've got resources. Not to say when you get out, you don't have resources, but when you get out, you have to secure a roof over your head. And some of these people don't have that option. They don't have any family members that are going to take them in. So you have to find a place to live. You have to figure out where, food's going to come from. So that could be very scary. I can imagine being let out and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm free. This is wonderful, but what do I do next? You're going to be lost. You're not going to know because they've been in prison since what? Since 1989? A lot has changed since 1989. So there's going to be, I know in prison they do probably have access to a few things, but a lot has changed since they've been in prison. And I don't think they've ever been able to set foot outside the walls that they've been behind. So it's going to be shocking at first. I'm pretty sure these gentlemen are going to have a place to go. There's someone that's going to take them. But there's some, like I said, in general, there's some people that don't have anybody that's going to take them or, feel sympathy for them because there's some family members like that. If you do something bad, they're not going to support you. There are a lot of people like that, unfortunately. So when they do go out, it's a scary thing and they automatically get back into the same habits that they had done prior to getting into prison. And so then they end up going back because it's all they know, which I don't blame them. It's scary when you come out. And also too, I mean, if you had were into the bad stuff and prison allowed you to clean up from the bad stuff and then you go right back into the neighborhood because that's where your house is or where you're living. But I don't think they allow that, do they? But just say like you're going back to a house where it's in that general area, so you're tempted. So I mean, it's scary. I don't blame them for being scared and going out there. So I feel like they go out on parole, so they do have a parole officer, if I'm not mistaken. But is that enough support for them? You know what I mean? I feel like they just let them out, here's the gates, open up, you're free, goodbye to the institution. And some of these people, like I said, don't have a support system. So that can also determine rehabilitation. But if you have a support system when you go out, I feel like, yeah, you have a better chance of succeeding. And there's some people that don't need support. There's some people that already learned their lesson from being in prison for serving their time. And they're like, I'm never going back in there. And they don't. So it just depends on the person. So, I mean, it's up to Eric and Lyle if they are released, if they're ready to be rehabilitated. There's things I've read. I can't think of it on the top of my head, but they said that they were examples. So, I mean, obviously, I think Eric went to school. He used his resources. I'm not sure about Lyle, but being on the outside, that's another thing. Daniel goes, it becomes their safe place. The only requirement is maybe AA with a sponsor. I'm pretty sure. True. Wendy goes, revolving door, the life they know. Yeah, exactly. Curious Potato goes, Bernadette. Curious Potato goes, it's important to remember how an abuser gets inside your head, making you feel they are powerful and there's no escape. Exactly. I've never been in that situation, but I've seen programs where there's people that are in their situation where they tell their story because they want to tell their story to help other people that might be in those situations. And that's the thing that they always say is the person that's doing the deed always tells them, like, don't tell anybody. It's they kind of control them, like isolate them. So very true, Curious Potato. And I get that. No, I get that. I get that. When you're in that situation, you're scared. You think they're gonna do something to you if you talk. So but I feel like eventually, like with some of the stories I have read with other people in um the abuse situation, I have to be careful what words I use here on YouTube because YouTube's very pesky. They eventually tell somebody, and that's how they kind of find their escape. And that's when they confide in someone, whether it's a boyfriend, whether it's a family member, but they confide in someone, and that person tries to help them get out of that situation. Daniel, exactly. They tell them that they're going to get in trouble if they say something. Shamanistic Unicorn Tam, what is up? True. Crisis Potato goes, so it becomes a crisis point. Exactly. Blame shifting. Yep. They start blaming the person. They start isolating the person. They get what Curious Potato said, they get in their head. True. All of it's true. So you don't know like exactly what was going through the Menendez's brothers' heads when all this was happening, because we are not in their shoes. But there's some things that do make me question them as well as what Heather whatever had mentioned earlier. But do you guys think, are you guys with the uncle, which is Kitty Menendez's brother? I was gonna say sister. Brother, that they did it with greed, or do you believe that they serve their time and they should be possibly set free, released by the holidays? Because that's what I've read. A lot of them want them freed by Thanksgiving. But the when is Thanksgiving? Because the court case is on the 26th. Thanksgiving in the US, guys. I know I have some Canadians watching. Okay, it is before Thanksgiving. Wendy goes, roaches in the woodwork. Mental grooming, definitely. Wendy also. Shamanistic Unicorn Tam says, I always felt something more was going on with them. Lisa Boo goes, it's a tough one. I see both sides. I'm kind of with you, Lisa Boo. I'm kind of in the middle. It's both. I kind of see what I'm hearing, like with the actions. Like, I felt like that probably shouldn't have gone that far. They could have asked for help, but then also too, I see the other side of it, that if say what happened to them is true, and I see that side as well. I see that if you were a person in that situation, it's very hard to get out of that situation. So I do I feel for them. No one deserves that ever in their entire life. Um, Not as a kid. No one deserves that. That's not fair to them as children. They shouldn't have gone through that. So I see both sides, but I'm in the middle. Like I'm being pulled in two directions, and it's kind of hard for me to uh say, yeah, if it does happen, if what the allegations are true, then yeah, I feel for them. I could see maybe why that happened, but then at the same time, I'm seeing, well, this is what happened after it happened, and I see the uncle's side, and it's like, it makes me like, well, you know what I mean? Bernadette, thank you for the super chat. Hearts for Bernadette, guys. Thank you, Bernadette. Can I just say, Lisa and Nerd Report and the community are so amazing. Thank you, Bernadette. Hearts for Bernadette. Shamanistic Unicorn Tam, it is. This is a tough situation. And I agree with you, Lisa Boo. Two wrongs don't make a right. Very true. Heather, whatever goes, wasn't Gloria Allred their attorney? I think it was. I don't think so. I think it was another one. The original one? I think it was. I don't think she was. I think it was another. I think it was another lawyer, if I'm not mistaken, Heather, whatever. Wendy goes, I'm on the fence with this. Families can be so layered and complicated. Very true. I just feel like I said earlier, I just feel like the family is finally ready to put this to rest. And they're finally willing to forgive them. So that's how I feel like why they're coming forward and wanting them released, which is totally understandable. Matthew goes, yes, you can't right or wrong by doing wrong. Exactly. Dusty, what is up? Very true. So it's very hard for me to. I want to believe their story. You know what I mean? I want to say, yeah, this happened, but at the same time, I'm like, what other things I'm hearing? I'm like, it kind of has me torn. Heather, whatever. Thank you for your super chat. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind. Sometimes you can pick your family. Exactly, you can. Unfortunately, some people can't. Hearts for Heather, whatever. Thank you, Heather, whatever. Also, Heather, whatever, as well. Thank you for your PayPal. And I want to give a shout out to Lisa Boo for your PayPal as well. Hearts again for Heather, whatever, and Lisa Boo. Thank you, ladies. And Bernadette. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate that. Guys, thank you, guys. Totally appreciate it. Also, to Heather, whatever, had sent me. Let me see if I can get into my, because this isn't my computer. So I'm a little discombobulated here. Because usually I could just sign into my. I'm already in my mail. Sorry, guys. I hate when you want to click something and then a pop up comes up and you click it. I'm like, oh. Let's see. Do I have access to that email here? No, I don't. That is weird. No, I don't. Not here. Hold on. At home I do, but not here. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. Oh, I don't want to mess with his. I'll share it. Heather, whatever. I'll share your email when I'm in my studio because I don't want to mess up. I don't want to get into my mail and mess up. Because this isn't my computer. But I did get it. I have it. Bernadette goes, Lisa, did you know when you do the heart on the hand, flip them over, hanging? I did not. Bernadette. No, this one right here isn't Skeleduck, guys. This is Skeleduck's brother. I just want to confuse you guys. Skeleduck is somewhere in my background. He's hiding. This one's his brother that goes to the gym. Lisa Boo goes, I think Skelly's brother is Chuck. Daniel goes, Roboduck has lips like Wanda from the show in Living Color. For sure. For sure. The duck. This is the definition, guys, of duck lips. You know how people, like the celebrities, they take pictures and in the pictures there, I even see DJs doing it. I'm like, what the? I see DJs doing it. They're like, I was like, what the hell is that? That does not look attractive whatsoever. Do you think that looks attractive when in a deep? No, even guys are doing it. They're like what? What the hell? Like what? Like serious? No. like you see this badass DJ, right? Legend. I won't name who it is, but it's a legend. And he's like Heather, whatever. Oh my God, I do need one. You need a skeleton Nessie. Oh my God, if I can find one for sure. You guys don't know I collect skeletons as well and rubber duckies. So yes, I do. All right, guys, I did tell you I was going to keep it spooky today as well. I do have some ghost stories. I want to share as well. Matthew's like, everyone trying to copy Zoolander's blue steel and failing to live up to the legend. The shamanistic unicorn down goes lip overkill. Zoolander lips, yes. Lisa Boo goes, do you have a goth one yet? I have a not a goth one, but a satanic one. I literally have one. I don't have, it's not here, it's in my studio, but I have one that looks like a devil duck. It's like a satanic one that I got. They have a goth one too as well, but I didn't get the goth one. They have like a punk one and a goth one. Bernadette, thank you for the super chat. I'm donating for you to try the upside down heart. Do it, do it. I don't know. YouTube might YouTube might shut me down. I don't know if I should be doing that. Hearts for Bernadette. I would, but I don't want to get into details, but one of my videos, I'll just say which video got I wasn't gonna even talk about it, but one of my videos here on YouTube got, and it was the one on the hiking. It was a hiking video, guys. A hiking video for the Colorado Street Bridge. You guys aren't familiar with the Colorado Street Bridge. It is notorious because of what occurs there in Pasadena, here in California, in SoCal. There's been over 150 deaths there. And yeah, they age restricted me. You could just for that. And I'm kind of irritated about that. It's a hiking video talking about the history of the bridge, the spooky history. So, and on top of that, they sent me a letter asking if I was okay. And mind you, I uploaded that video of February of 2023. So, so yeah. That's why I don't know. I'm very careful when it comes to YouTube. They are very pesky. And it's like I gotta be careful what I say. Even sometimes I'm telling you guys a story about a serial killer, and some of the details I'm stumbling on. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but I stumble on it because I'm afraid that I'm gonna be shut down because of it. Matthew goes, that is weird because I know channels who go to places like that but never get. I know, that's what I'm seeing. Like, they tend to hit the smaller channels. I know it happened. It also happened. I don't know what their details happened, but it was a bigger paranormal channel. I'm not going to mention them. And it happened to them too. So I know it's not just happening to me, but it's like, dude, it's a hiking video telling about the history. Like, how is that? Am I supposed to leave those? And it's for a spooky hiking video. Am I supposed to leave those details out? The whole reason why I was going there was because of that. You know what I mean? So it's like, what? I'm not supposed to talk about the history of that? Heather, whatever, I believe she is. Curious Potato, don't worry, Lisa, you won't get shut down. I just want to be careful because I don't want not get shut down, but to get like a strike or anything like that. It's kind of like you're on eggshells when you're here because you're not using, like, you don't own the platform, which I understand. You're using their platform, so you got to kind of follow the rules. But I feel like it's like that was not my intention, and that's what happened. Heather, whatever goes, it only happens if you're great, weird, spiritual warfare. Pray, just my opinion. Dusty goes, AI doesn't have a thought process. It just sees words, true, or it hears words. I don't know if it's some bot that goes around and go, you know what I mean? And it's like, go somewhere else. So it's kind of hard when I'm talking about a situation when you think like YouTube isn't going to let you keep that when you're, and I'm telling the story. It's not like, I have to tell the story, especially when you're talking about like a murder or whatnot. You're gonna have to tell the story. Some of the articles have the details in it, some of them don't. So it's kind of hard to skip around that. I try. If you notice, some of the words I won't say, but true. But to get into the spooky wookie, which I had promised today, I do have some scary ghost stories. These are 5 ghost stories from Montgomery County. There's a lot of articles on ghost tours. So I'm wondering, have any of you guys actually or plan on going on a ghost tour this spooky season? I have not. I've never been on one. Um, I've always been curious about them. I know there's a few here in the LA area. Because I know when I Google, a lot of those come up. Like stay the night at the haunted hotel, stuff like that. Matthew goes, I would like to, but never get to. I would love to. I know there's one here but it doesn't just go on for spooky season. It's all year round. But I know most of them in some areas are usually just for spooky season. I even saw that there was a train somewhere. The ghost train is coming to town. So, but I found this article about some spooky stories. A Confederate cavalryman who lost his head but maintains his fighting spirit near Gaithersburg. I do apologize if I'm butchering that. A spectral woman from a Gilded Age gateway in Silver Spring, a carousel riding wraiths in Glen Echo, and phantoms with a flair of drama in Olney. These restless spirits and ghostly figures haunt cherished places with lots of history, or so the story goes. One of the best things about ghost stories is that whether or not you believe in spirits, these tales invite a closer connection to a place and the community of people who were there before. Some of Montgomery County's most dedicated ghost hunters are local historians who prize spooky stories for offering unconventional angles of history. You come for the ghost and leave with the history, says Karen Yaff Lotz, program coordinator at the Gaithers. Oh my God, I am butchering it. Gaithersburg Community Museum and co-author with Dorothy Pugh of In Search of Maryland Ghosts, Montgomery County. Pugh, a former librarian and writer with Montgomery history, once estimated with remarkable precision that there are 42 to 43 reported ghosts in the county. Whoa, that's a lot. She and Lotz dug deeper and uncovered more than 50 for their book. Who's to say if that's a typical census of spirits of a county of more than 1 million living beings, but it's enough to keep ghost hunters busy for a while. Here are the stories of a few. Chris Barber goes, they're doing something here at a very old church behind my house. The church is from 17 or 1800s. It's supposed to be very haunted. Ooh, crazy. Curious Potato is curious as a potato for spooky stories. I love that one. An encore in Olney. It was about 2 a.m. and Bill Graham was tucked in the night in a creaky 1898 farmhouse in Olney. He awakened with a start, his eyes riveted on the commotion above the bed. These things were swirling over my head, he recalls. They were like swirls of smoke with what looked like faces. They freaked me out, and I made the sign of the cross with my hands, and they went away. Graham was terrified, but not completely surprised. This was the mid-1980s, and he was the producing director of the Olney Theater. Olney Theater. Since 1938, plenty of ghosts had stalked its stages, from Banquo and Macbeth to Marley and A Christmas Carol. But the farmhouse, that served as the actors' residence, offices, and rehearsal space was said to host the sorts of spirits that didn't stick to a script. Graham was trying to sleep on the floor below what had gained a reputation as the most haunted bedroom in the building, where witnesses had reported seeing figures enter by walking not through the doorway but through the door, where actors and staff claimed to hear thumping and furniture dragging when no one was there. Another night, Graham recalls he heard piano music coming from the enclosed porch used for rehearsals. It didn't quite sound like a tune, but it wasn't merely banging, he says. It was ethereal. He found the rehearsal piano standing silently while the music continued to play, receding as he proceeded down the long porch. The ghosts were very real for many people, says Graham, who now runs a communication firm in New Jersey. The ghost of what had become known as the Olney Theater Center was invited to depart once. In the 1990s, an actor staying in an upstairs bedroom told colleagues the room had a strange presence. The windows would fog up for no reason, and the actor felt the weight of someone sitting on the bed. Staff members held a kind of new age exorcism of the room. They waved crystals around on thin necklace chains and politely urged the ghost to be friendly. They say things like, "We represent you, but leave the people alone," recalls Weldon C. Brown, director of sales for the Olney Theater Center. I kid you not, right at that time, the lights flickered and the windows fogged up. The spirits didn't take the hint. In 2018, an actor appearing in the production of the grief-infused Aubergine was staying in the same room. One day, he came downstairs and asked, "Do you guys have ghosts?" The actor told Brown that a window in his room kept fogging and he felt he wasn't alone. Brown himself described seeing an apparition. Just before a performance of Peter Pan in the late 90s, he glimpsed a man in a brown suit and brown wig, tip shoes disappear into the box office. Brown followed him in and found only two young ticket sellers wearing shorts. That same performance, during curtain calls, members of the stage crew spied a mysterious figure taking a bow in the shadows at one end of the stage. He was wearing brown pants and suspenders. Theories abound for who these spirits might be. One or more of the Golden Era actors who have performed on Olney stage, Tallulah Bankhead, Lillian Gish, Bob Fosse, etc. Mary MacArthur, who contracted a fatal case of polio before she could appear in a 1949 production of Good Housekeeping with her mother, the acting legend Helen Hayes, the couple Elizabeth C. and Henry Davis, who built the farmhouse. Every theater has ghosts. We just happen to have particularly storied ghosts because of the history of the place, says Joshua Ford, director of marketing and communication. Theaters are the repository of a community story, not exclusively ghost stories, but we really like the ghost stories. Heather, whatever goes, there's a Polar Express train ride from Carson City to Virginia City, Nevada. That is so cool. One of these days, I'm going to make it out to Virginia City, Nevada. Don't ask me why. That is the one place I want to go. It's like, and what I heard, it's like a place that's like stuck in time. The cool thing about Chris, you have a what is it? A cemetery like right next to you, right, Chris? And she's never had a paranormal experience in her house. That's the crazy thing. Bernadette goes, I love Tallulah Bankhead. The spirits of Glen Echo Park. Glen Echo Park exudes enchantment at all hours. The vibe is probably a combination of the omnipresent band organ music from the historic Carousel, the Art Deco architecture dating to the 20s and the 30s. I love the hairstyles and the flapper dresses from the 20s of the former amusement park and the ripe imaginations of so many potters, painters, and other artists on the premise, teaching thousands of students each year. Over the years, employees have reported strange sounds and doors abruptly opening and closing in the Spanish ballroom, according to the artist in the park. Other remarkable occurrences have been reported as well. Several years ago, silversmith Blair Anderson expanded the Silver Works studio and gallery into a second studio. She installed space for 12 black tool bins that could be pulled from slots on the wall. Any bin can go into any slot and she moves them around. Yet, she says, no matter where she puts the scissor bin, on 3 occasions it has suddenly burst out and spilled its contents. Once a pair of scissors was driven into the wooden floor like a dagger, Anderson said. There are things outside of ourselves that we don't always understand. Oh my God, if you guys watch Ghost Adventures, there are things in this world we will never understand. Anderson says, and that was just one of those things that's like, huh? She named her unseen visitor Edward Scissor Ghost and has woven him into the narrative she tells her students about the special atmosphere of the park. That is so cool. It's hard to say who might be haunting Glen Echo, but some bad blood flows through its history. Alonzo Shaw, an early operator of the amusement park, built a ride around Clara Barton's house to try to drive her out, to no avail, before begging her for money. According to a 1997 history, she turned him down, and the park soon changed hands. A handful of riders fell to their deaths from roller coasters, according to news accounts, before the amusement park closed in 1968 and the National Park Service took over the property, supporting its transition to an arts and cultural center in 1971. The most notorious tragedy of the park's past was the ownership's policy of racial segregation that kept generations of African American families from enjoying the grounds. In the summer of 1960, students from Howard University picketed when a demonstrator attempted to ride the carousel. He was prevented because it was strictly for white people, a security guard said. 5 were arrested. Picketing continued until the end of the season. The next year, the park opened its doors to all. And I think that is a terrible part of, unfortunately, that is history and that did happen. But that is a terrible part of history. Just imagine not being able to get into somewhere because of the color of your skin. Wait, and that happened. I'm glad that it doesn't happen now. That is just terrible. In her book, Lots includes the story of a teen in the mid-60s who crept into the park at night after it was closed. Twice he saw ghostly riders on the carousel. They were African American families formerly dressed in clothes that would have been fashionable decades earlier. They bobbed up and down and rolled round and round on the polished and gleaming wooden animals. They were enjoying themselves. It was as if they were asserting a gleeful, ghostly claim to a simple pleasure that had been denied for so long. Yeah, Chris does have a cemetery right behind her house. And she goes, I like my quiet neighbors. But has never experienced anything paranormal. I think that is wild. Bernadette, yes, go for it. You could share. Can I share what happened to me this afternoon if that's cool? Yeah, go for it. And Chris has lived there for almost 60 years, so, and has never had one paranormal experience. That to me is crazy. That's kind of cool though, because you have like a peaceful existence with a cemetery. A lot of people would be frightful to live near a cemetery, especially during Halloween time, because that is said. It is said that the veil between the living and the dead is the thinnest. But that's still pretty cool. I think that is cool. Chris goes, but to be honest, I don't go out much at night. So maybe that's the reason why you haven't experienced anything. But then your house is right next door too, and they stay out of your house. So that's kind of cool. That is wild. I still think that's crazy. The Enchanted Ballroom of National Park Cemetery. The National Park Cemetery campus in Silver Spring looks like a fairy tale village with a Japanese pagoda, a Dutch windmill, a Swiss chalet, and an English castle. The property started as a resort hotel, Ye Forest Inn, in the 1800s and soon, or 1880s, and soon after became a posh boarding school for young women. Its rolls burgeoned with young women surnamed Hershey, Chrysler, Heinz, Kraft, and Maytag, just to give you a a example of their clientele. Bethesda or Bethesda magazine reported in 2010. That is a tongue twister for me. The Army took it over during World War II and made it a rehabilitation center for wounded troops through the Vietnam era. Preservationists and preservation-minded developers rescued it from abandonment in the early 2000s, and now it it is repurposed for its fourth life as a residential community. I can see why people would expect ghosts here, said Bonnie Rosenthal, executive director of the Save Our Cemetery advocacy group. She hasn't seen a spirit, but has heard stories. In the early 1990s, when the property was run down, a visitor told Rosenthal that he had just seen a ghostly figure in the window of a house that had been uninhabited for years. He describes a Victorian-era woman with her hair piled up in a white high-necked lacy kind of blouse. Rosenthal said the witness was more amazed than frightened, according to Rosenthal. Another story recounted in Lott's book takes place in the ballroom built in the 20s with a vaulted ceiling and tiered balconies. The space has the grandness of the Overlook Hotel ballroom, though perhaps without the shiny menace. A visitor in the 1960s attended a Valentine's Day dance sponsored by the Army. He looked up and saw servicemen sitting in the balconies. They seemed melancholy and maybe a little wishful. Then he noticed that the soldiers' uniforms dated back to World War II and their bodies appeared translucent. He realized they were ghosts. He wondered if they were sad that they couldn't join the corporal fund, or were they still recovering from their wounds, waiting for their chance to return to the dance floor. So Bernadette has a story. We'll take a pause from the Headless Horseman of Game Preserve Rose. Okay, so y'all know I have a roommate that works with the dead, so this is the third time this happened. I am working at home. I went into the kitchen and my stove button thing was turned. I did not touch or use the stove. Roommate was not home. This happened 3 times already, and my cat is too fat to jump to touch it. That is crazy. Maybe take or do you have the stove where you can pop off the buttons? Or is it the buttons for the stove buttons? Do you have the kind that where they pop off? Bernadette goes, there was gas all in the house. That is dangerous, Bernadette. Bernadette goes, I've saged so many times. Chris goes, sounds like they are following your roommate home. Bernadette does not have the stove where you can pop off the knobs. I do. But my stove is ancient. I think my stove is from the 90s. I don't know. But I have the kind where you can pull out maybe try duct tape, like I think Heather whatever had mentioned duct tape. I think it was Heather whatever. Heather whatever had mentioned duct tape. Maybe try some duct tape to put on the handles to prevent that from happening. Because that's dangerous. That's scary. Luckily, you're able to smell the gas, but if that happens when you're Chris, I bet your stove is way older than mine. Bernadette goes, I might have to. This is ridiculous already. Yeah, because that's dangerous. Because if you're sleeping and you don't catch that, it's dangerous. Matthew goes, roommate needs to leave their work saying you may not follow me home. Definitely. Chris goes, mine is older than me. Wow. I heard a knock. I know there's a house next door, but I heard a knock. That makes me stop because I'm supposed to be the only one here. Dun, dun, dun! It's probably the neighbors. Carol goes, unless it's the touchpad type, the knobs should come so they can be cleaned behind them. Chris goes, her stove is about 70 years old. Wow. Dusty goes, my stove has propane because we don't have natural gas in Hawaii. The stoves don't last more than 5 years without needing repairs. Wow, that's crazy. Bernadette goes, I have said that to the roommate. Roommate does not believe and does not care. I'm like, care. I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, obviously he's not a believer, so if things happen, he's gonna like just call it off. It's got to be something like super drastic for him to believe. Nothing wrong with being skeptic, because I feel like the skeptics are probably the best, best at investigating something because they're not going to jump to conclusions. So there's nothing wrong with being skeptic, but I don't think you're gonna ever get a solution with him. So Bernadette, I would suggest trying to figure out a way to like keep them from being turned, because that's super dangerous. Bernadette goes, I have salt at my door and his without roommate knowing. I mean, if that's what you have to do to protect yourself, Bernadette, go for it. I mean, it's not going to hurt him. You know what I mean? What he doesn't know, he doesn't know. Plus, he even told you he doesn't care. So, Curious Potato goes, I'm skeptic. Nothing wrong with that, Curious Potato. You have to be, or you'll believe in anything. Like I said earlier, I feel like the skeptics make the best investigators because they're not going to jump to conclusions. Like if they hear a noise, they're going to be like, "Oh my god, that's the lady in red." You know what I mean? Like say like the place was haunted by Lady in Red, so they'll automatically think it's the Lady in Red. But if you're a skeptic, it'd be like, "Okay, what animal is in here? Is it windy outside? Oh, that board over there just fell down. Like it could have fell down," because you know what I mean? They'll have more logical explanations to things instead of people who are believer. I am a believer. But I do question things as well. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. Bernadette goes, he's an idiot. This is real. So much has happened here. Daniel goes, question everything. Bernadette goes, I'm the one that's always home, so they mess with me and my cat. Well, of course, because you're there. He's hardly there, so he's probably not going to see anything. One of these days, when he's there by himself, one of these years, something's going to happen, and he's going to be like, okay, I believe. Curious Potato goes, yep, always investigate like Sherlock. Exactly. Because you want, especially to be a good investigator, you want to debunk things. You want to make sure like it's not windy outside, so there's no way that branch could have moved, or no, there's no animals in the, especially for outside, like with the animals and stuff. I feel like that's very hard to, like, if you hear a sound, you're like, oh my god, like, you know what I mean? I feel like that could have been caused by an animal or something. So I feel like unless you're in like a very secure location, it's kind of hard, I feel like, outside to investigate, because it could be anything. Heather, whatever goes, I've seen things, but my skepticism came first. I'm very much like that. I'll see things, and I don't think anything of it until someone tells me like a story, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I had this experience where, or I'll question it. I'll kind of be like, no, that's not what it is. Or if I see something on one of my cameras, I'm like I'll expand it. I'll like look at it. I'm like, no, that's not a bug. That's not a fly. Like I very like question things. Bernadette goes, he saw a cabinet door open in front of his eyes and he still does not believe. What? Bernadette, yes, I agree. Get some cameras. They have very inexpensive indoor ones that you can get. If like Blink has one. But Bernadette, definitely I would keep an eye on that because that's super that's very dangerous. Or like keep your window open or something just so that it's ventilating. Because if that happens when you're sleeping, whoa. A headless horseman of Game Preserve Road. Thank you, Bernadette, though, for sharing your story. That story is crazy. Game Preserve Road winds lonesomely through a stretch of wood west of Gaithersburg until you come to a one lane. I know I'm saying that city like a billion different ways. I do apologize for butchering it. To a one lane stone underpass beneath the railroad tracks. Legend has it that a Confederate cavalry officer was decapitated hereabouts during a skirmish in the Civil War, according to a story in the County Gazette newspapers in 1992. Could he have been one of J.E.B. Stuart's men who marauded through the country in 1863, or one of General Jubal's Early's forces who attacked Rockville in 1864? In one version of the tale, the Gazette reported a farmer and his family were traveling to Gaithersburg in a wagon on a foggy night after the Civil War and encountered a figure of a steed with glowing eyes. The rider leaned down to leave a message in the dirt road before galloping away into the fog. Curious to read the message, the farmer was horrified to find it was written in blood. I cannot rest until I become a whole being. Stay clear, or you and yours may suffer a similar fate. The Headless Horseman of Game Preserve Road, as he became known, mutated over the years. In March of 1876, under the headline A Haunted Bridge, the Montgomery County Sentinel reported on a mysterious occurrence that kept happening at 9:30 p.m. around the railroad bridge that crosses Great Seneca Creek. The lantern on the bridge would go out, and then a flame like a flash of lightning would erupt straight upward, and another would shoot across the bridge. Was it a goblin damned? A posse of 50 residents led by young armed men went to investigate. When the flashes burst out, the men fired their guns and were answered by a shot from the bridge. They withdrew without solving the mystery. The railroad bridge over the creek is up the tracks from the lonely underpass. Since the railroad didn't come to the country until several years after the Civil War, was the flashy spirit on the bridge a separate ghost or the headless horseman in new guise? In the 80s, according to the Gazette, a ranger at Seneca Creek State Park described hearing hoof beats and seeing flashing sabers, like lightsabers. a parallel legend grew up about the headless spirit of someone decapitated in a train accident, perhaps rooted in at least 2 decapitations on the track documented by lots. A county park historian in 2001 told the Washington Post that the headless figure has been a pretty common sight, and he recalled teenagers looking for a headless ghost killed in a train wreck. As for the mysterious disturbance on the bridge, in the words of the Sentinel, you who are not afraid of ghosts would doubtless be repaid for a visit to it. We hope that a solution of this affair will soon be discovered and any cause of terror be removed from the superstitions of that vicinity. Bernadette, just be careful though. Bernadette goes, I'll be careful. I don't think they are bad. Maybe jokers, I hope. So, Harvesting Tales. Lennon Gross and Christine Rye were deep into research for their book project, Mysteries and Legends of the AG Reserve, when they met for lunch at locals farm market in one of Poolesville's historic houses. Suddenly, the attic door popped open and there was a gust as if something was floating through the room. They took it as a good omen for their effort to explore the paranormal lore of the 93,000-acre agricultural reserve in northern and western Montgomery County. The history of the AG Reserve has not been cared for the way I think we should have wanted it to, and there are a lot of stories that remain untold, said Gross, 27, an artist and public historian who grew up in the reserve. If framing the stories as a mystery to unravel is something that inspires people to become interested in local history, then that's the value for us to really investigate these things. We are a part of the community, and that gives it a different angle, says Rye or Ra 46, an English professor at Community College and a folklore enthusiast who leads haunted history tours in Poolsville. In October, people feel more comfortable discussing this stuff with us because it can be hard to talk about strange things that happen, especially when you live in a small town. True. I don't. Yeah, true, because then people might think that you're crazy or something. And then, especially when you live in a small town, like everybody knows. And I don't know if I would want everybody to know my ghost story. Gross and Rye chronicle their progress in Facebook as they dig into lore rooted in the Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, the C&O Canal, and bygone indigenous communities. One spooky story they've uncovered featured the Watcher, a grisly character that residents have spotted over the years. The authors are drafting the first volume, but the window is still open for folks to share their tales if you guys would like to. Guys, what did you think of those stories? When did you go small town gossip? Just keep your mouth shut. Oh, mice. Let me talk about mice since Chris has mentioned mice. I have a hill behind my house. So I've always gotten critters. In fact, I have a squirrel den on the hill that I discovered, but I don't mind the squirrels. I love the squirrels. But I get everything. I get bugs. I've always. And speaking of mice, I was like surprised. I had blocked off my sliding glass window because the screen, and obviously in the summer I'm going to have it open. The screen has a gap between the glass and the screen. And I've never been able to fix it. There's also a gap between because I have my cable for the Wi-Fi going through it. So I always have a tiny gap. So what I did, because I was like, I'm not going to get any mice. F this. I'm going to prevent this, right? So I put weather stripping. I covered the one edge where there's an opening all the way down, so it was covered. I put a wooden block that was tall, and I wedged it in between the screen and the glass. So I was like, all right, I shouldn't get, as soon as summer hit, I did that. I shouldn't get anything, right? So I always happen to be sitting quietly, and I see whoosh, and I'm like, what the? So I put cheese. I got these because I don't like using glue traps. I always feel bad about using glue traps because I do like mice. I just don't want them in my house. So I found these traps on Amazon that are humane ones, and then you just let them go. And I'm like, let me try them. I don't think they're gonna work. So I tried cheese because the rumor is mice love cheese, right? Had it there for 3 days, did not touch it. And I was like, and so same thing, sitting, and then I see one go this way, one go that way, and I'm like, oh mother, I got two of them here. Like, what the hell? So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try peanut butter because someone suggested peanut butter because when I was reading the reviews on the product to see if it worked, they suggested peanut butter. So I said, all right, let me use peanut butter. And I go, okay, well, no, I'm not gonna catch anything. So it was there for a day, didn't catch anything. I put them right where I saw them, like, because they said to put the traps up against the wall. So that's what I did. The next morning, boom, caught both of them. I was like, good, I caught them. The mice were all like, looking. So I let them go. I went to the back. I don't want the neighbors seeing me because the neighbors are going to say, oh my God, she's letting the mice out and it's going into my yard. So I made sure they didn't see me. In my backyard, I didn't go into theirs. So I was in my property. Let them go up the hill. And they didn't want to come out of the thing because basically it's like a like a little oval thing, and it's got a trap door, and then it's got a release door on this side, so you can lift it up and they go out. So I let them go. Set the traps up, didn't think of anything of it. Boom! Caught another one the next day, and I was like, what? And I still had my door cracked, right, to let her in. So I said, you know what? What if it's the same mouse that's coming in? Because maybe they have babies or something. I hope I don't have babies. I don't know, because I don't know. So I decided to block my door, but to be able to still get air in. So I put like a panel. And I ended up in total, I caught 6 of them. And I let them go. And I haven't caught any since. But I was like, holy crap. They were setting up they were setting up house. They were on vacation in my room. But once I blocked my window, I haven't had a problem. But I mean, I do have, like I said, I do have a hill in the back, and I'm gonna have those problems no matter what, unfortunately. So, and I did find one because my laundry room happens to be, it's in a room, but it's on the outside, but it's in a room where I can close the door. And I have one in there, but they haven't gone after the trap yet. So I'm like, that's what I heard. But then I put them back because I can't take them where my neighbors is because I got nosy neighbors. If my neighbors see me doing that, they'll blast me on Facebook. That's why I can't do that. I've got the nosiest neighbors. I think some of them don't like me as it is. A lot, trust me. Nerd report saying my mom is going to get an operation on her leg tomorrow. Oh no. Guys, again, prayers and positive vibes for whatever you pray to, because I know everyone believes in different things. So positive vibes and prayers for Mama Lekka. Dusty goes, if you see one, they're usually more. They habitat families. Yeah, I know. I even Googled, they said they gave me a quote like 10 or 12. I was like, Curious Potato is no. I mean, I guess it's normal. Is there anything other than a nosy neighbor? I think it's normal to have nosy neighbors. Wendy, just a backup, because if you haven't heard, Mama Lekka fell yesterday while I was mixing. She fell. We thought she might have sprained her ankle, but it ended up being broken. She couldn't move, so she ended up going to the ER today, and it looks like that she is going to have surgery as well. Joanne goes, a broken ankle is no fun. I have never broken anything. I have sprained things, but I've never broken anything. Came close, but I've never broken anything. So I and I'm pretty sure they're very painful as well. Daniel goes, supposedly a sprained ankle is worse than a broken ankle. I've sprained my ankle twice. When I was a kid, because I used to climb over everything, I remember I was climbing on a pile of wood, and the wood gave out on me. And I must have twisted my ankle. I think I don't know how old I was. It was like 8 or 9. And then older, when I was working and I was sweeping, I got excited. I got something to work. Whenever I get, you know how when I tinker with things like it was something electronic. I don't remember what it was. I finally got it to work. I think it was a phone that was locked or something, and I finally got it unlocked, or I forgot what it was, and I got excited, and I had a broom in my hand, and I was like, yes! The broom fell. I landed wrong on the broom, like the bristle part, and I sprained my ankle. That was the second time, and I was like, Joanne goes, I had to learn to walk again. I'm pretty sure of that. All right, guys, I am going to open it up for questions. I'll give you a few more minutes to look for Skeleduck. This is not Skeleduck. This is Skeleduck's brother that goes to Brother Chuck. Lisa Boo, I like that name. That goes to the gym. Oh, that's super nice of your neighbor, Chris. If it wasn't for my neighbor, I'd have to go to Uber for my appointment. My neighborhood's kind of well, there's one lady. Oh, sorry. There's one lady at the end that, well, two. I got two. And they're kind of the type of people that have nothing better to do, and they're kind of like in everybody's business. And one of them, for whatever reason, I don't remember, got in a, I don't remember what the reason was. She had something against my mom, and she assumed I'm my mom, and she treated me the same way. So I was like, okay, for anyone assumes, you can, so yeah. So the one, my next door neighbor, I kind of talk to, like, we'll say hi, but I know that they're very kind of nosy, so I kind of stay away. But and then another one, and most everyone else is quiet. Like, we kind of we're not like that neighborhood where you're like, oh, I know Jim over there, he'll give me some sugar. We're not like that, for sure. We're kind of like in our own entity. But then there's people in the city that will post, that have nothing better to do, that will go on the city Facebook page and go, take a picture or something. Who do I call to get this taken care of? Because I walk through here and it's an eyesore. And I'm not kidding you. There's people that do that. There's people that have nothing better to do. And I mean, I could do the same thing, but I'm not like that. I could care less what people do. Like, I'm more worried about myself. But there's people that do that. They'll take pictures and blast it on freaking or like the business. I swear to God, there was a business that had their trash cans visible from the street, and there was a guy driving by. He took a picture of it. He goes, who do I talk to about telling, why does this business, it's a habit, why does the habit have their trash cans out in view? Aren't they supposed to be behind something so we can't see them? And I was like, what the hell? Like, don't you guys have something better to do? So yeah, that's the type of area I live in. If there's a helicopter, all right, everybody jumps on Facebook. I mean, there's some things it's good for. Don't get me wrong. There's some things. There's a helicopter. Hey, guys, do any of you know why there's a helicopter? I'm on so-and-so street. I was like, so, I mean, some things are fine, but it's Daniel goes, a poor little girl spilled her candy and was able to pick it up. Somebody took a picture, posted on Facebook, and said, look, they're making garbage in the street. Yeah, people do that. They have nothing better to do. I mean, it does come in handy, because then you'll know where, like, if the power goes off. Hey, I'm on the south end. Do anybody have their power off? And then someone chimes in, I'm on the north end. I have my power off too. So I mean, there's some things that it's good for, but there's some things I just feel like they go overboard on. And I'm like, dude, do you know what that person's going through? You know what I mean? Like, that person could be falling on hard times, and you're blasting them on Facebook. Lisa Boo goes, the old saying is true. Never assume. It makes an ass out of you and me. True. Very true. That too, Daniel. That's a very, oh my God, does anybody else have, because we have Spectrum, for example. Does anyone have Spectrum? Is it out? Mine's been out for a couple of hours, and everybody will chime in. No, serious, they do that. There's a coyote, because we have a lot of coyotes in my area. Which I get, because, make sure your animals are in, which I understand, because coyotes can get your animals. So I get that, but I'm not kidding you. They're like, you might see 3 of them, 3 posts. There's a coyote on so-and-so, make sure your animals are right. And I'm like, Dusty goes, the neighborhood I used to live in was very busybody and reported me for having weeds around my mailbox. If I have weeds sticking out on the sidewalk, they'll come and tag me. In fact, I think that's what happened again. That's the only thing I can think of. Someone complained. Because why else would they pinpoint your house, come and tag your house saying this needs to be cleaned up by so-and-so date, unless someone complained. Bernadette goes, can I also mention my grumpy next door neighbor passed away 2 weeks ago and roommate took his body away? You think that's something also? Yes. Yeah, the coyotes usually, Curious Potato, usually I always see one. I'll see one, but sometimes, because I have, cameras in my front, sometimes I'll see 2 of them pull up in my yard. And then they'll go off. I've seen coyotes in my backyard. Like, because there is a fence from the hill to my backyard, and I've seen them on the other side of the fence. All right, guys, real quick. Skeleduck is, hold on. You see the very top shelf? I can't even point. Oh my God. Okay. Hold on. I don't want to pull the, give me a second, guys. I don't want to pull the thing. All right. Skeleduck. Skeleduck is right there. Right where my finger's pointing. Way up there. It's right there. Way on the top shelf. Thought that was a kind of cool place. I'm kind of limited in this background, but Matthew goes, funny, I had a neighbor get crap letters from the city about grass being over 12 inches, not like we haven't had constant rain. Exactly. It's like, plus 2, you don't know what that person's going through. Maybe they can't get to the lawn. Maybe they're an older person and they can't get to the lawn, or maybe they're out of a job for the moment and they don't have money to get a gardener. You know what I mean? You don't know what's going on, and it's sad. Like I could do the same thing. I walk the neighborhood all the time and I see things and I'm like, whatever. You know what I mean? I could care less. It's none of my business. I mean, if there's something I can contest, then yeah, I would probably point out other things. Say, hey, if you're going to get me for this, then you need to tell them, and them. You know what I mean? That's when I'll do something. But other than that, I'll stay out of it. Matthew goes, it happened to both. That sucks. It sucks getting those letters, because it's like, you have 2 weeks or we'll charge you $500. I don't know if they charge you, Matthew, in Florida, but for me, it's $500. You'll get fined $500. And then you go down the street and you see a house that has the same stuff that they just told you to clean. And it irritates the hell out of me. Usually it's something stupid. I would think, Joanna was thinking that, but I think someone complained. I don't think it was a city inspector. Somebody complained. I agree. The city gets pissy about your yard, but thankfully I don't live in the city limit. It's like the city I live in. They're like, it's not Beverly Hills, but I want to say it has Beverly Hills standards. That's how I can describe it. Put it that way. Like they're prissy. Wow, Bernadette goes, years ago at my old house, I had a red-nosed pit bull, sweet girl as she was. I had a mountain lion in my backyard. She busted the back door and I went to rescue her, but nope, she scared the kitty away. Wow. Matt, oh my God, they've got, in Florida, it's $200 a day if it's not fixed. What? Do they give you, like, they give you time, right, Matthew? Like, do they give you like 2 weeks or do you have to take care of it right away? Just out of curiosity. Curious Potato, I'll have to wait for the next one. Cause I'm staying on for a few more minutes, but not enough to read another story. Curious Potato. So you're gonna have to wait for the next one. Matthew goes, they do give you okay. Carol, you are lucky. They really don't do anything like that here unless they get a lot of complaints, and they still don't do anything that I know of. Kyle, what is up? All right, with that note, does anyone have any last minute questions before I end the stream? Dusty, I don't blame you, and that's why I live in a rural I can never say rural country area now. Thank you, Lisa Boo. I appreciate that. Thank you, Lisa. Great stream. Lots of love to Mama Lecca. Again, guys, if you could send positive vibes and prayers to Mama Lecca. She's going into surgery tomorrow. Delea Lux, what is up? Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Daniel. All right, guys, I am going to end the stream here. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Grayson Report. I will see you guys on the next one, which will be Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be there, be squared, stay spooky, guys, and sweet nightmares. Good night, and you have a great rest of your week, which is Friday, and then you have the weekend. Good night, guys, and thank you.